Welcome to the Comic Panel, your show for all things comics and comic-related media. I'm Taylon Russell,
I'm Jacob.
And I'm Shawenta.
and today we are covering a book that is, I'd say, fairly popular, definitely somewhat recently. Something is Killing the Children, written by James Tynion, illustrated by Werther Deladera, colors by Mikel Muerto, letterer is And World Design. So, Jake, you chose this book. So, tell us why.
So I chose this book because, because I had a physical copy that I had bought at some point and hadn't read it, so I figured, well, if it's good, then I'll get to talk to it with people, and then if it's bad, I'll get to laugh at it with other people instead of just reading it by myself.
Mm-hmm.
And the reason I picked it up was just because it was a James Tynion book, and I think I like what he writes. But I mean,
What else has he written?
he did some Batman stuff, and then I think we've read another one of his books before, but now I'm blanking on the name of what that would have been. But yeah, I mean, I read some of his Batman stuff. I liked it, so that's why I chose it.
Yeah, I'm more familiar with James Tynion on Batman.
Oh, we read Department of Truth. That's the other thing he did.
Yes, that's right.
That makes sense.
Which, yeah, there are some themes that.
You know,
uh,
it's been too long. I don't actually remember.
it's yeah, you were there. It's the one
Yeah.
with Lee Harvey Oswald.
Well,
And
I remember the comic. I just
Do you remember
not
the
enough
concept,
to.
right? Every single conspiracy is true, technically.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay, I see. I see. I got you.
The next thing we know, lizard men show up on the scene,
Mm-hmm.
etc.
Yeah. Yeah. So, like, can you run through the summary?
oh, I guess. Uh, I'm bad at summarizing books.
Oh,
I'm
I see. I
sorry.
got you. Well, then I'll summarize it. Something is
All
killing the
right.
children.
Yes, that is. It is the title and the thing that is kind of happening in the book. That's true.
That's the
Okay,
best
so
you
it
got.
starts out with a sleepover, right?
Yes.
Small town sleepover.
Yep.
The kids are talking about some urban mystery thing
Mm-hmm.
under a bridge or a ditch. I don't know. They decide to go check it out, and they do not survive other than like the one kid who told them about it,
Yep.
James. And he's still kind of convinced that it's not real what happened. And he doesn't understand like what he saw totally. Like he saw his friends get like mutilated and killed really badly.
Yep.
And I mean, what's her name? Blondie.
Erica Slaughter, I believe.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why did I
Which
forget
sounds like
that?
a fake name, but
Because
does seem to be her real name.
I
I mean,
mean, it
she
is
has
a
an
fake
ID
name.
card. That doesn't make the name real.
Well, yeah, but she called into the slaughterhouse, so.
Oh my God, I hate that. Um, yeah, so meanwhile it cuts over to like Erica, this blonde. She's also a teenager, I would say.
I don't think so. At least looks wise. They keep referring to her as older.
Okay. Well, she's like an older teen, but don't they like at one point are asking why aren't you in school or something?
I don't remember that.
It was two James.
Yeah.
Wasn't that when they were like together? Well, together. That's not no.
When they were hanging out.
Yeah, hanging out at the
So
not
casual.
Applebee's.
Oh my gosh,
Okay.
yes.
Okay, so there's this blonde girl, Erica. Obviously, she's involved in some like stuff. She's in another small town at the
Hmm.
beginning, dealing with, I mean, a monster. That she's
Presumably,
dealing with a
yeah, a
monster.
different monster hunt.
Hmm.
She's got like machete. She's going crazy with blood. um, But yeah, she's involved in this kind of stuff, and it seems that she's taking care of the problem and she's moving on from it.
Hmm.
And so James's town, it's the fact that he's the only survivor so far is
Yeah.
everybody's kind of blaming him for it. And the fact that I think the deaths of his friends kind of marked the beginning to everybody, where they're like, oh my God, more and more kids are dying.
Right.
And that was the start of it all,
Yeah.
they consider at least. So yeah, people are convinced he killed them, and yeah, he's just getting ostracized like crazy.
And so then Erica meets him and tries to question him about whatever he knows about his friends' deaths. And what we come to find out is that she was called into this, and so basically the people who called her in kind of classified that what they do is they classify like, okay, this is the level of danger that you're going into, like level 6 or something like that. Like they have a specific naming convention, but they're like, this is a level whatever, so that's the kind of expectation you should have when going into this. But I also think at the same time she was trying to figure out what it was that she's hunting. So
I mean, yeah, pretty much, right? She's
yeah.
gathering details so she can know how she needs to attack.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so they meet up at Applebeans, and they just kind of like go over what James knows. And I think this is when he's
importantly, like, isn't this where we meet Tommy, the
yes,
older brother of one of the like kids that went missing? Some of the kids are very obviously been killed, and some of them are just missing.
mm-hmm.
And yeah, so they end up clashing with Tommy too. But that's after they are trying to discern everything on the map, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, because part of it's like what James saw, but also, there were other kids that went missing or have died since then. So, what seems to be like the common thread is that they're all like vaguely near a lake. This is like the story takes place in the like Midwest near the Great Lakes.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess they figured out it's near, I think they said Lake Michigan, but I'm not 100% on that.
Yeah, me neither. I did
Oh
not.
yeah, and then they get chased out of the not Applebee's
Yep.
because they talk about the ritual murder of what turns out to be the manager's sister. And
Yeah.
weirdly enough, that sets him kind of on edge.
Yeah. Who would have thunk?
I mean, to be fair, his like coworker is like, "Hey, it's that kid who survived. The one
Yeah.
everybody thinks did it all."
That
Oh yeah, that's true.
that coworker annoyed me. She was just like, "Oh yeah, everything that you think could go wrong, like every conspiracy theory basically that you think, like, yeah, right there." It's like
So that's most of the townspeople in this story.
that's fair.
Well, yes, but it is a very small town reaction where it's like, yeah, it's if it weren't a comic book horror story, it is usually the one person who walks out of the forest that killed all those other people.
Mm.
But in this case, we know it's a monster.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Do you like at the very end where Tommy and like Erica are having to leave the Apple Beans, and the
Mm-hmm.
coworker confronts them, is like, "So, was it for like a cult or something? You're gonna give the details on why you killed those children?"
Yeah.
Like, that's not a normal interaction.
Mm-mm. Nope, not at all. But so at the end of this, like, I don't know all the details that we find out off the top of my head, but basically James is like, I want to help. And so she's like, as long as you do like everything I tell you to do, then yes.
It's like a little motel room and consults her tentacle toy. It's an octopus toy. That's it.
It's a plushie
Yeah. She's
with a
talking
zipper
to it,
for a
and
mouth.
like when the sheriff stops by, and uh, I guess he can't see it because he's an adult, but the octopus toy is
Oh yeah.
has a spirit with it or whatever.
Mm-hmm. Which looks like I don't know, something you'd see on Pirates of the Caribbean. Maybe.
Yeah, kind of. I don't
Yeah.
know. It doesn't have like the
Octopus themed
tentacly
mermaid.
Davy Jones face.
That
It's
yeah.
just got a couple tentacles.
No arms, just tentacles, but humanoid body, torso, and tentacles on the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And then we don't see it, but they do end up arresting her because
Yes.
next time we see her, she's being interrogated.
Mm-hmm.
And this is where we
Oh
learn her
yeah, 'cause
name.
Tommy was the one who called the sheriff's office
Yes.
about her. That's
Yeah, because I mean, to be fair, was being pretty creepy, talking to like the one survivor that we know
well. Also, he like
about
he
about
like
ritual murder.
he went to like he went to angrily grab the one survivor and like, what did you do? Or what do you know what happened? And she like bent his arm backward, right? Whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Well, it also seemed like he reached for her shoulder. It's like, hey, you can't be here. And then she's like, don't touch me. But yeah,
So
Eric.
her little driver's license is like, when she's at the sheriff's office, doesn't this driver's license she has, they're like, this is made out of paper. She's like, so it's a social security card. And they're like, you made this at Kinko's.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I can't argue with that logic. We're just gonna move on. She's like,
I
all
mean,
right.
yeah, she's fairly evasive when people are asking her questions because I guess she just doesn't want to explain, or it would probably make her sound crazy if she talks about yes, monsters are real. No, you
Mm-hmm.
can't see them.
Yep.
Kids can though.
Mm-hmm. You can if your eyes are open.
About like where she was on a bunch of different dates, and as she says, you know, I was at specific places where kids were disappearing, and that's gonna freak you out. And yeah, she pretty much monologues what their entire interaction is gonna be.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
You're gonna get a call from somebody, and you're gonna let me go.
yeah, and promises him to some extent that he's here to take care of the problem if he lets her go.
Mm-hmm.
And he lets her go even before the phone call comes in, I think.
Yeah.
But they also get a call that like I think 5 more dead kids,
Yes, that's
or maybe
what-
not dead kids, but deaths.
Mm-hmm. No, I think it's kids.
But regardless, like, yep, still that monster is still out there. So
They
kind
go
of
get
reluctantly need her help
Mm-hmm.
and
Yep.
gonna need some weapons. That's right.
Mm-hmm. And I guess the deputy or the sheriff says to the deputy to follow Erica, make sure things are
Yes, that's right.
on the up and up or something like that. Like,
I mean, even if like I kind of see it though, because like she's just giving you a bunch of weird information and you can't really argue with it. And what she said is happening, but also like you can't just let her walk away.
mm-hmm.
I mean, so the deputy's following them, right? And the
Yeah.
next thing they do is go to Home Depot and buy a bunch of sharp
No.
objects.
They that's true, but yeah,
Please, it's a House Depot.
It's House Depot.
I did like the exchange though with the the appliance sales was like, hey, I've got all these really nice saws that as soon as
Oh,
they
yeah.
detect if they hit like any like hit your hand or something, they're gonna stop immediately. And you could save money and buy those like cheap ones, but they're just gonna rip and tear and not even stop if you hit anything.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, I would like to see those appliances, please.
And he's like,
It's a
what?
very good sell.
Yeah, sure. And
And
then
also garden shears, I guess.
he looks into the basket that she has, which bunch of tools, and he's like, "You got a big project going on, don't you?"
Hey, sometimes, you just have to not ask questions to not become an accomplice.
I don't think that's how that works.
No, listen, if you ask follow-up questions and you're like somebody's buying plastic wrap, gloves, tape, axe, it's like must be building a deck, huh? Damn, that's crazy. Definitely not chopping up a body.
I mean, yeah, that's fair. That's fair. Yes.
Term a murder kit.
I mean, you're building a deck. You got to start with the trees in your yard.
Yeah, of course, obviously.
Yeah.
Chop down the deck
Mhm.
first. Chop down the old deck, put in a new deck. But yeah, I mean, then meanwhile, Tommy's also gaining resources, I guess. He goes to his drunk dad's house and gets a gun.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Chekhov's gun.
Is it?
No.
Oh.
I mean, it does get shot, so.
Gotcha.
Used.
Yeah. So this is the question that I've had. It's like, we look to the coroner, who is the sheriff's brother, but also he's wearing a shirt. I'm like, what? What does that say?
What do you mean he's wearing a shirt? Do you mean he's wearing like a band T-shirt?
Yeah, that's what it looks like. Yeah. Let me clarify.
So you mean he's very casual?
Yes, he's very casual.
He's also blowing bubble gum at the scene of a crime.
Yeah, not a great coroner, is what I'm gonna guess, but
Well, no. Like he said it's ugly, and trust me when I say when it's ugly, I'm taking it seriously. Oh well, okay. To be fair, he was also had a few drinks before then. I feel like
Yeah,
I'm remembering how this happened.
I mean, he also tells his brother, "You gave me this job because you said it would be easy."
Yeah.
yeah, it was just gonna be like old people dying in hunting accidents.
And that's what I was promised.
But now he's gonna deal with a bunch of dead kids, which is not great, but also like try to be a professional. Like you are still a coroner.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so James and Erica go to they just at a random spot on the outskirts of town to, I guess, to where she thinks, oh, that's right. So she asks the sheriff back when she was being interrogated who the first person that disappeared was. This person who first disappeared would have been someone that you might have overlooked as just, oh, this person just disappeared. And that it didn't seem like it would be connected to where this is, or the people being taken now. And so he's...
An official case kind of thing.
Say again?
It's not marked as like an official case.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And so he gives her a name, and then she does some research to figure out where she was last taken. And so that's where they're at right now, her and James. And so she's like, all right, James, stay here, much to James's chagrin. And she goes into the forest. And then the deputy's also following her at this time. So he looking up through binoculars, seeing what's going on. And also, what's his name again? Tommy?
I mean, his crew.
Yeah, Tommy. Okay, yeah. So then Tommy shows up, knocks the deputy out, which assaulting an officer, that's not a good on your record.
I mean, I guess, but grieving older brother.
I
Small
just
town.
knocked him out to cope.
What? What?
Oh,
And I mean, the sheriff had said, "All right, deputy, stop following her because I just got a call from big bad slaughterhouse man," and said, "Yeah, just leave her alone. Let her do whatever she's gonna do."
Yep. And then
I mean,
deputies.
you know that telling someone you need to stop following someone because the big conspiracy is not going to stop them.
Yeah.
You're just like, you got to stop that because have other leads.
Hmm. Man, yeah, you should have said that. Hey, actually, there's some new person that came to town.
Oh yeah, just blame the new person in town.
Yeah.
Random person off the bus.
Well, it's not a random person; it's a non-existent person.
Oh yeah, okay, person who hasn't been here while all this has happened. We're gonna blame you for the things that have happened. How's that gonna work, Dalon?
Hey,
No, I
get them
think
to
Dylan's
drive away.
right. If they don't exist, then you spend a lot of time trying to find them
Exactly.
in town, right? Although you probably need some proof that they have existed first.
They had to have existed at some point, not just like made up person,
Great. I think
guilty criminal.
we skipped over a tiny bit. There's the one moment where Erica admits to, or she finally explains that the monsters can only be seen by kids, of course, because reasoning their brains aren't fully cooked.
Yep.
Because they're not real, but they're like it's
Right.
But you believe in them.
Yeah.
the explanation is very half baked, and reading an interview about this book makes that make more sense now.
Hmm.
But it's because apparently James Tynion IV hates exposition, and part of the what's the term? Like part of the reason he was able to write this book the way he was is he talked to the publisher and said, "I will only write this book if I don't have to explain anything."
I see. And this is the
And he
level
did
of
it perfectly.
and this is the level of explaining that he's fine with.
Yes, this level is fine. He didn't want to have to like write a exposition page where it's like, all right,
okay.
here are like the concepts and mythology
I see.
of
Okay.
of this book.
That makes sense. Let's slow down the reading anyway.
It would. I mean, he's not wrong, but also like it does make sense that James Tynion personally hates exposition as a concept.
I mean, it's not even that he hates exposition. It sounds like like you said, he hates explaining things. You can explain things through other than exposition. That's how you create a good story. Just want to say that. No, the only vehicle you can explain anything is through long pages of text.
Yeah, you can't have character, I don't know, research. I don't even know.
Have it naturally develop? That's crazy. Slowly reveal things? Okay.
Oh
So they're going
man,
to the
I
cave.
was
They're going to the
yeah.
net, right?
Anyway, yeah. So also she says that there's a way to make yourself see the monsters as an adult, and she just says that I don't exactly know if it's what because she used something on Tommy to make him see later, and I don't know if that's necessarily what she meant by that.
Yeah.
There
I'm
are probably
assuming there's
multiple
probably
ways.
other ways. Yeah.
Mm.
Okay, so she tries to make James wait outside, and as she goes in to the cave, and of course Tommy, the super speedster he is already in the cave and is like, I knew it. You did this. You're coming back to your cave.
You know, that's a good point. How did James not see that? I didn't even think of that.
Also, how did Tommy get in there so quickly and be safe?
Mm-hmm.
Isn't it technically that, like, people who are older than kids can't see it, but they can still be hurt by it, right?
Yes.
Yeah, so it just was, like,
Fair.
cool with him walking in.
Fair.
Yeah.
And then Tommy gets talking to by the octopus plushie.
That's not Tommy. It's James.
Sorry, James gets a talking to.
James starts to go into, like, he kind of has a bit of a traumatic, he's having a little bit of PTSD, and he's also talking to the octopus about, feeling guilty for what happened to his friends.
Mm-hmm. But the octopus,
so,
being a jerk that he is just like, well, suck up, get in there if you really want to make like it right. He goes
Yeah,
up.
so of course,
No, what you were saying?
when Tommy like tries to shoot Erica, he shoots James instead, right?
Yep. But that's like the second time. Yeah, that's
Okay.
the second time that he. So he shot at her first and missed, I guess, and then she was just like, "Get out of the way." And then he shot at her again, and that's when he hit James. Because
Well, he's watching Erica clearly fight something, but he can't see it, and he's
yeah,
like, "This is a weird trick."
because so imagine somebody's fighting another person, but you only see one person fighting. That's what was going on, and I think he did see like blood being splat,
Yeah,
but I think from the creature. I don't actually know.
I'm pretty sure. Yeah, she's obviously like her appearance is changing.
Hmm. Yeah, and so then he goes to shoot her again, and somehow misses, and it turns out that it got James.
I mean, that's just a thing in comics.
Yeah,
If there's a unknown character, like a character heading to a destination where two other characters are fighting, and there's a gun involved, and you see a shot go off screen, it's gonna hit that third character.
Okay, to be fair, I do think like Tommy's probably not a great shot with the gun he has just acquired.
fair. That's fair.
So you thought he would have hit James anyway, even if
I'm
Erica
saying the
hadn't
fact
hit the
that he
gun.
hit anything was an amazing feat.
That's fair. Fair. I wonder what would also too. It's like what does a gun? I guess a gun would work on the creature, if
It would.
axes do.
It should.
I don't
There
think you
hasn't
have to
been
see
any
the creature to be able to
explanation.
hurt it, right?
Huh? Interesting.
No, I think it would help.
Can you hit it with your car? That's the thing.
I feel like you should be able
Probably.
to.
You've read 15 issues, Jake.
Well, nobody tries to hit it with a car.
Does anybody who doesn't see them hit them?
I don't think so.
Interesting.
I think it's all people who can see the monster hits them. But like, a gun should work because like there is at some point like somebody hits a monster with a pipe.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not like it has to be like, oh, special knives made out of this special metal. It's like, no,
Mm-hmm.
She went shopping at House Depot.
Yeah.
I feel like that's established. Yeah, a gun should work. I just assume that she doesn't use guns because that would be like a little bit harder to get a hold of a large amount of guns and
I
ammunition.
mean,
maybe.
it is Midwest America. It is not difficult.
I mean,
Or it shouldn't be. I don't know what this version of Midwest America is like.
but also police much better at, arresting you if you acquire a
are-
large amount of that.
They are more obvious. You can't really hide if you're going to shoot a bunch of guns off. Like, people will notice.
Versus like if you get stopped by the police and you have just a bunch of garden shears in the back of your truck.
Building the deck.
Yeah.
That's why I need 20 garden shears. Okay, they're still in the cave. Yeah, James has been shot. Tommy's freaking out because
He's being choked
Yeah.
out by the monster that he can't see.
no,
Yeah, this
Oh,
climax
that's what it
just,
looked like.
no, he's just literally he's having an attack. He's like having
Oh,
like
okay.
PTSD or not even PTSD. He's just having an anxiety attack, I would say.
Okay, gotcha.
and having been shot. Oh no, you're talking about Tommy.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, also Erica like slammed him in the gut. So also he's
Oh, man.
winded. I forgot about that.
That makes sense.
Yeah, this climax just like spirals for Erica. We're just like, okay, I'm gonna fight the monster. Okay, Tommy's here. That's kind of a problem. Okay, James is here. James got shot. Okay, on top of all that, there's another also alive kid down here.
Yeah.
She
That
says,
now I
I've
have to
been
try
here
to
for a
save."
long time. Surviving on what?
And it just falls apart for Erica. It's like this became so much more complex.
Hmm. Yeah. And that's not
Okay,
even
so
the worst
she-
of
like,
it.
just fight the monster.
Monster's just watching as this happens.
Yeah, that was the like, really? You're just letting them talk. You're just standing there.
Okay,
Well,
so yeah, she
because
uses that thing, right? Like you were talking about, Talon. She uses the little dagger that she says is like a one-way door,
Yeah.
but she uses it to cut Tommy's head so that he can also see the monster.
Mm-hmm. Yep. And so she sends Tommy to take the little girl and James outside of the cave.
Yeah, it pretty much making him be able to see the monster convinced him of what is going on and made him focus more on helping save the, James and the other little girl.
Mm-hmm.
Even though he was really upset and was like cradling his dead sister's body
Oh, well, see, he got
in
closure
the
in that
body
moment.
pile.
Mm.
Big body pile.
Yeah. Yep. And so, them leaving leaves Erica and the monster to fight. And so she kills the monster, and Tommy brings the kids to the deputy, who is awake now. Oh, sorry, officer. I was the one who knocked you out. But
They put aside their differences to go to the
Yes.
hospital.
yes.
No
Yeah, to not
explanations needed.
Mm-hmm.
Did Tommy do all that? It's like he doesn't know.
Mm-hmm. And so we see Erica calling her boss and being like, "Yo, this was not classified correctly. You didn't tell me what we were dealing with, and it was a mother." Dun dun dun.
Which means that there's babies
Yes.
around town or something. The town's in more danger.
Yep. So it had children, and now the children are out free because it was a nest instead of a feeding ground. Is that right?
yeah,
Yeah.
something like that.
Mm.
They may have used different words, but like, yeah, it's just like instead of a place where it was storing food for itself, it was like bringing food there for its babies to eat.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So yeah, I read that and I was like, "What? No."
So was that what gave you did a little GIF reaction
Yeah.
when you finished the book? Was
Yeah.
that what made you go,
Yep.
"No, the town's in more danger"?
Mm-hmm. Indeed. So yeah, now we done with the summary. Move
I
on
think
to
so. Very rough summary, but yeah.
yeah.
We wandered through it, but we
Mhm.
did it.
All right. The things that we like.
I liked a lot of the characterization we got from Erica, the sheriff, and James. I think they were all like strong, well-defined characters, and I wanted to learn more about Erica, especially because she is mostly the main character, it seems. And so even going through even though I read more, I still like all these characters and would like to know more about them and see them, continue to do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
What,
Yeah.
did you not like the book?
What?
There's parts I like. What is it? Oh, the general premise. I think the premise of like I love, the kind of mystery part of, all these kids are going missing. This is it could be a very visually interesting kind of setup, like all the missing posters and James having to deal with that was an interesting aspect of him having the little PTSD moment was good. After seeing just he saw a dead fawn's body and that set him off.
Yeah, which
Mhm.
I don't think it was related to the monster. I think it was just like a dead deer.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the woods for you.
Well, okay, so you said fawn and deer, which I guess were the same. I saw a
Fawn.
pig.
That's not a pig.
Pig?
Tail on.
It has spots. It's a baby deer.
Huh. Sure.
I
Hold on, this isn't like alternate versions. Like you got the pig version. I
Huh.
I'm assuming you just don't know what a baby fawn looks like. Like it just
Okay. Okay. I see it now.
okay.
I just saw the face and I was like, that looks very pig-like. The snout.
They're not very similar to be honest.
Well,
But
yeah.
okay.
Yeah, I know they don't look similar, but in that photo or in that panel.
Okay. It's a really small thing, so I don't want to get caught up on it. Um
Yeah, yeah.
y-
That's fair.
yeah, I think, you know, James got more kind of, development on his feelings around the situation than Erica did, obviously, because she's got to remain kind of like mysterious for the story, so far.
Hmm.
So, does, like, Jake, does the story continue in the town for all the next 10 issues?
yes.
Okay,
Uh,
so,
the yeah the baby monsters are they're a problem.
okay. Sounds like a big problem.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know. What
Mhm.
No,
about you, Taylor?
Yeah, I enjoyed the premise and I enjoyed the character of Erica, I think, most specifically. Um and I don't know, I think just the way that it was all laid out was like, okay, this is an interesting story. Interested to see where this is going, and so as it progressed, it was like, okay, it's got me engaged. I'm enjoying what I'm reading. So yeah.
I will say I also liked the it talked about exposition earlier. I liked that the sort of intrigue of like what the House of Slaughter is and like the concept of monsters in this universe was kind of like slow rolled out and it came up in a vaguely natural way.
Hmm.
It wasn't just like apparently like they pitched around like using like journal entries or maybe actually using like a big exposition page. I think of the options that they talked about, I think this was the best way to do it, which is like very slowly and
Hmm.
naturally, I at least think, sort of explain it to the audience when it comes up, which can seem like they're just pulling stuff out of a hat when it's convenient. But
Hmm.
I don't know. I didn't feel that way.
Yeah, yeah. I think I'm definitely like, who are these? Well, okay, yeah, who are these people? And she didn't use slaughterhouse, but that was a missed opportunity.
Oh yeah, they keep calling it the House of Slaughter.
Yeah.
The
Oh,
shadowy organization called the sheriff, and they're like, Erica's not with us.
Oh yeah, yeah. Right.
Erica's not even a part of this.
I
So,
do you think that they're part of the same? Those are the same people, or no?
um, I mean, obviously Erica's constantly talking to somebody.
Hmm.
Not even just like the octopus, but like she's always on the phone with somebody, and they're like constantly feeding her like all the information she'll ever need or whatever.
Hmm.
So I mean, she's involved in something. Like even if that other group is like Erica's gone rogue or something.
Hmm. So you think that those people at the table were the same people that called the sheriff and said she's not with us, or?
It's a thing. Like they're wearing similar little bandanas as like Erica
Hmm.
likes to wear. So obviously she's gotten the uniform at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah, it seems like the bandana is definitely a uniform thing. but there are different colors, which I think means it's either different tiers or like different people brought you into the House of Slaughter.
Hmm.
And this is based on future reading, not on what you guys necessarily read. Also, they all have stuffed animals.
Yeah, interesting.
I didn't notice that the first time I went through, but like when Tommy gets hit with the gold that lets him see the monster, we get the little like uh panel of a bunch of people at presumably the House of Slaughter, and they all have stuffed animals in front of them, which I
Yeah.
guess is just a thing for the House of Slaughter is to have a stuffed animal with a weird monster soul put into it.
Kind of like a guidance spirit idea.
Spirit guide, yes. Sure. But yeah. So you want to? Do we have anything else, or do you want to move into things we didn't like?
I don't know. The other stuff I kind of like is more art focused, so I guess
Okay.
I'll just wait for that then.
All right. So yeah, things we didn't like.
I did not like Erica.
Didn't like
Interesting.
Probably,
Erica.
probably is a pretty major part of it, right? Like Talon, you're like, I like this book, love Erica.
Hmm.
Um, I just think the dialogue in general was really bad. Um,
Hmm.
I feel like the visuals might have played a part in this, so, but no, I think, yeah, I think the writing in general, like the dialogue, like I can't stand dialogue where it just lets the one character monologue about how a situation is going to play out. It's very BBC Sherlock. Um,
Hmm.
but yeah, just Erica, I don't know. Like it doesn't feel natural. And I guess it doesn't have to be super realistic, but I don't feel like a lot of the other characters are allowed to be themselves. I don't know. I, I just I don't agree with the idea that they're very strong characters. I think James was pretty good. Like we get to see him at his limit. Like he's been through like a traumatic experience. Like he this is defining his life kind of moment. I mean, obviously this is it's a pretty early part in the series. Like you've read 15 issues versus our 5. So like Erica's just kind of being tested a little bit with like all the annoyances of like Tommy and then James and then little girl. But like
Hmm.
obviously we don't really get to see Erica like be pushed to her limit too much. Like as soon as they're gone, she's fine. Monster taken care of. You just need that's all you need. You just need stuff from House Depot and Monster taken care of. I
Hmm.
also feel that the general flow of the story like I think it kind of shows with the way that we like had trouble summarizing it was that it kind of is meandering and I think I like it's probably because it is a first part of the story is trying to introduce us to these concepts. But like what do they actually do? They like gather info.
Hmm.
They like ask like two people um like where things are. Like I would love a little bit more if they got into obviously she's trying to classify the monster to understand what kind of threat she's against. It would be interesting if like, oh, because it's this type of monster based on clues they gathered, okay, we need these type of weapons or I need this a little bit more. Like I mean she just kind of gets a slashing weapon. Like
Hmm.
I don't know. There's just a lot of assumptions there. Like we just mostly see Erica get like pissed off at like James or like at her phone and like the people telling her what to do.
Hmm.
Um and like I don't even feel like the way she interacted with James was too natural. Like of course she's going to yell at him to shut up and then be like, "Oh, I'm sorry." Like they got to have a little moment of conflict, but I don't feel like they ever connected on anything more than like James wants to help. Erica wants to get her mission done.
Hmm.
like simplistic. Um, yeah, I think the main problem I have with it, don't like Erica's dialogue, and I don't think it developed in an interesting way. Like, obviously, I kind of wanted to know what was to do with the monster, but like, yeah, it's literally Erica just has to ask the right person, like the right question, who's the first person who died, and then that's where you're gonna find it, and then just get some weapons, kind of thing. Um, Obviously, like I read this a week ago, so I'm forgetting a few details. Like I'm forgetting how she specifically decided, or how what details she gave to the octopus to like make it decide what level it was.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I also had a hard time of. I know it probably goes back to like the fact that he didn't want to explain too much. He wanted to. I mean, you say it develops more naturally later, so that's good. But it needs to give a hint of that a little bit more. I mean, it gives like, okay, there's the different levels. Well, like even if Erica had a book or something, was like looking at the different levels, and like James sneaks a peek for a second, just sees like a few things said about like one of the levels. I don't know. I think Erica does say something about one of the levels, but just make me feel like there's a foundation a little bit more. I don't know. Also, I just think it's kind of cheesy, the little bandana thing. They're just sitting around a kitchen table with bandanas and like stuffed toys.
Man, calling it silly?
Silly, man. I can put on a bandana and have a stuffed toy in 5 seconds.
Okay,
But will
you know
it
what?
have a spirit in it?
That's fair. Having a stuffed animal makes it silly. Everything else is fine.
It's also being like, you guys, it's time for our secret like meeting. Put on your bandanas. Bandanas. I mean, compared to.
Well, they're not.
Would you like it better if it was like the full like mask or?
That's the thing. There's like the typical one, so I know they're trying to do a little bit different from that.
Mm-hmm. Also, can we call them bandanas if they're over their mouth?
Special weapons do special weapons. That's cool. I like that.
But yes, it is a bandana. Even if they put it over their, like, even if it is used as a mask, it is still a bandana.
Okay.
Also, the creative team called it a bandana.
Oh, okay.
Bandana.
That just means that they could be wrong.
They made it. Like, what do you mean they could be wrong? It is what they say it is.
It's interpretation. Death of the author. But yeah.
Gotcha.
I mean, I'm trying to verbalize how I feel about it because I didn't go into it being like, oh, that's wrong, that's wrong. I just was like, this isn't that great. Like, I'm going throughout the story, don't like these characters. They're kind of handling this in a very wandering way.
Would you like if we had seen more from like the side characters and like had almost never seen like Erica's point of view?
No, I think Erica needed more to struggle with.
Oh, interesting. Okay.
Like, what is the arc other than Erica just like having to like everybody leave me alone? If you would just leave me alone, I could get this done easily.
I see.
I guess yeah. In these first 5, there's not a whole lot of that.
Yeah.
There's more, but like the problems that you have just reading these 5, like I can't really argue with.
As in, they consist. The rest.
I mean, it's a pilot kind of thing, right?
Yeah, but I mean, like, it is not a good response to criticism to say, well, you should just read more. Like, that's not, or read more, watch more, like, consuming more of it.
I don't think
like,
yeah, I don't know. Just don't super care about them.
I mean, that's fair. Like, Erica does not do a lot to, like, endear herself to the reader. So if you're not already like there for her, I guess, then like
Also, just it's that thing again of where like she gets all her information from her phone and it's everything she needs to know and it like solves everything with the police and whatever. It just she doesn't have to figure things out on her own, I feel like.
It depends on how you like want to like construct that because like when I read that I was like, oh wow, this means there's like an organization that is behind like supporting her, and that this is not like the first monster they're encountering. Like they've done this for decades, and like I view that as like, oh wow, you can read a lot from that when you read it. But then it's also like that is very convenient that it
Mhm.
is exactly what she needs.
It's always that thing of I kind of hate that trope where like you remember the police officer like giving the phone to the sheriff where he's like they knew things about me that they shouldn't know.
Mhm.
It was like what? That you like have a reoccurring dream about hot dogs or that like your first dog's name or like your first dog's name was Fifi? Like what kind of level? Like are they magical, know too much, or just like NSA spying?
Oh yeah, like identity theft levels. I guess. I mean, I certainly
I
didn't
don't
think
know. It's
about
always
that, but
cheesy to me. I just can't stand where they knew too much about me kind of thing. I I don't know. I don't care for shady organizations who know too much. Like
Ah.
I like when there's like a specific like if they gave Erica a specific piece of information, like give it a little bit more concrete. It's too vague. Like,
Mhm.
oh, so and so swept this crime under the rug or he feels like responsible for shooting someone. Like that's how she gets the sheriff to like realize that they know too much about stuff. I don't know, but that's the thing again. Like, if it's an actually magical organization, then yeah, they're gonna know like magical levels of spying.
Mhm.
um,
They're gonna be like to their, I don't know, their stuffed animals. Hey, dig up everything you know on this guy. Which I think is actually what she said to the doll, like, or to the stuffed animal. She said, "Hey, I need your thinking on this." So she didn't actually give it any details.
like everything that it's witnessed while Erica was around. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and then we don't even get to see that like get explained. Like, does it tell Erica anything?
Well, it says that
Does it?
the
It's
after
it
after
says
the
based on that, right?
like after the next 5 kids that die, um, they're saying the octopus was like, "Oh, this is more in lines with like the kill pattern is more in line with this kind of classification, class E or something."
Yeah.
Which actually
Okay.
doesn't make sense to me because the classification that she originally thought was not a letter. To me, that seems kind of weird. So he was like, it's class 7," and then he's like, "Oh, it's actually more class E," which to me is like, I feel like that's different.
we'll say we're gonna get too nitpicky if we're gonna say, oh,
Yeah.
the classification of these random monsters doesn't make sense for this magic organization.
Mm-hmm.
Like
I mean, I just
that's a
remember
step too far.
I do remember how I felt about it. I don't remember the specifics of like realizing that was different. I just remember going like, I feel like I'm making this up. I was like, oh.
Mm, gotcha.
And it was probably brought about by the fact that they changed from numbers to letters.
Yeah, so I can confidently say that there is nothing that I did not like. Oh, I mean, I guess in the beginning,
Okay.
like James seemed a little like I hard to define. I guess it's like I don't really know who you are, and I don't think that they even go into that.
Trouble getting a sense of James. Yeah, I mean, James is pretty much he's just defined by the fact that his friends died and he's
Mm-hmm.
like sad about it and he liked one of his friends and now he's even more ostracized than he was before.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Maybe his interests. We'll
Mm-hmm.
never know.
Yeah. Man, I took time to try and remember his friends' names. It was a waste.
I think one of them is named Tyler.
Mm-hmm.
They're dead. Who cares?
I don't know if you ask James, I'm sure he cares a lot.
So there's Noah, Carl, and Tyler.
Hey, I was right. One of them was named Tyler.
Yep.
Any other stuff I disliked? I don't know. There's some stuff in later issues that I don't really like, but
Tell us, Jake.
so there's like they keep talking about somebody who died, who's named Jessica, who I guess was a part of the House of Slaughter. But she also trained this guy, Aaron, who like gets this whole hero moment where it's like he's gonna sacrifice himself, but he might, take down some of the monsters. And then like he stabs one of the monsters and then immediately dies. And it's like, wow, you really
Oh,
built up this whole hero moment for him to die immediately.
that's rough.
And even Aaron's like, oh no, not this soon.
Funny, I'll be fair. It's
I
good
mean, it was
comic
kind of
moment.
funny, but I don't think it was
I
supposed
don't
to
think
be
it's
funny.
supposed to be funny. Yeah, no, this isn't a comedy.
That's fair.
It's like, yes, I did laugh, but also like I'm not sure that's what I was supposed to feel when I saw this character die.
It's a little bit of tone mismatch, I guess. I mean, I don't know. You can have that, right? Where a character fails. But yeah, it sounds a little weird if they're like building it up as like a huge hero moment.
Like, it could also be like whatever step Aaron was about to take would have been a step too far, and he feels bad. So like it's a, I don't know what you call that, but it's like character who does a bad thing but has like a like vindication in death almost.
Hmm.
It felt like it was almost that, but it like what he was about to do wasn't even that bad. I'll be honest.
Hmm.
Characters do way worse later.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha.
Get to see more people from the House of Slaughter, huh?
Yes, a lot more than I would have thought.
So they're having a little convention in town to deal with all the babies. Sounds like.
Yeah, because part of the House of Slaughter's like job is not only to kill the monsters, but is also to make sure that people don't know that monsters are real.
Mm.
So like they are actively trying to cover up, and also if you've seen a monster but aren't a part of the house, you may have to, not be alive anymore.
Oh, why can't they just like, what's the thing that just flash your memory away?
A neuralizer
Yeah.
from Men in Black?
Yeah.
Why don't they do this thing from another series? Um, why did they send Erica in then? They just want her to like flounder around until they're like, damn it, we gotta come in and clean up Erica.
Well, it seems like Erica's kind of a loose cannon.
Okay, yeah, Erica going ahead of the group. Stay with the field trip.
And it's like plays very fast and loose with telling people that monsters are real, which is not what the rest of the house would do. Introducing a bunch of new loose ends like everywhere she goes.
I see.
Slaughter. So they gotta come in and gaslight people.
Gaslight or murder. Murder is floated as an idea.
Oh, wait, so they don't actually like kill you? That's not their first instinct?
It wasn't there first. There's in the in issues 6 to 10, there's a lot of like, oh, Erica, if you don't stop telling people that monsters are real, then we'll have to do something about it. And then Erica brushes them off.
I see.
And then 11 through 15 are, yeah, now the rest of the house is involved. We are going to kill the people who you have told.
Dang.
And
Yeah,
it's
it's
only
bad.
when like Tommy says, okay, hey, listen, monsters didn't kill those kids. I killed those kids. Monsters aren't real. I'll take the fall for this so you don't have to kill the whole town. And they're like,
Hold.
the whole town, because it's very contrived. Because they have, for some reason, they decide to identify all the bodies that were in the monster lair all at once, all at the town high school.
Huh.
And so the monsters also go there because kids. And I guess you brought the whole family to identify dead kids.
Bait more often.
So, so the monsters are there, and then the other members of the House of Slaughter, and they almost kill everybody, but don't, because Tommy says, "I guess I was a serial killer the whole time,
Jeez.
just so the rest of the whole town doesn't die."
Comes out, I love killing kids, guys. Lock me up.
Turns out,
Mm-hmm. If the NSA is listening to this, that was a joke.
I mean, they can
Oh,
also
character.
read. They can also read something is killing the children and learn basically the same thing.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
But there is another character I like. Uh, Tommy's mom. Like, she does
Oh,
get a lot more. Well, not a lot more, but we see more from her, and she's like, the way she treats the entire situation, I like. But I mean, if you didn't like the rest of the characters, you probably won't like her.
fair.
Plot point does she make? Has
Oh,
she
it's
got a
like it's
big
almost
shape?
nothing to do with the plot,
Oh,
which is part of why I like it. It's like she's like very like on the street and narrow's like, Tommy, I understand you think I'm in danger, but I'm not gonna leave here until I see my dead daughter. I need to know.
but if she sees her dead daughter, then she'll know monsters exist?
No, it has nothing to do with whether or not she knows monsters exist.
And why isn't she allowed to see her dead daughter if they're gonna collect all the bodies in like the auditorium?
That's because it's like it's a official like thing. It's like you have to have the families there to identify the bodies, and they do it like alphabetically because there's like 30 of them,
Hmm.
So it's not her
and
turn yet.
it's not her turn yet.
Oh, wow.
Sure, slow.
There are a lot of kids, and like you gotta be there and like comfort the families, and then like, are you sure this is their body? And it's very official and give them time to grieve.
So you're talking about the sheriff, right? I mean,
The sheriff,
not
the coroner, and the principal.
okay. It's not the yeah. Okay, House of Slaughter wouldn't be doing that.
No,
No.
they are not as
They would be
personable as
queuing
that.
them up. Yeah, I don't know. Interesting.
Certainly doesn't sound interesting.
Wait, Elon, what did you want?
Oh, I have no. I
Are
don't
you
know.
saying you wouldn't be interested in more House of Slaughter?
Yeah, I would. Yeah,
Yeah, so it's interesting to you.
eventually. Because it sounds like that's like the last 5 issues, like 10 to 15, right?
Yeah, we got to get through whatever happens next.
Mm.
I don't know. I liked it. I did read it all today, so it hasn't like digested, but I think I liked it.
I doubt you're gonna like 5 hours from now be like, kind of hated that.
Especially because we didn't talk about it.
No, it's part of why I chose the books. Like I wanted to like because I have a hard time telling if like if I liked something or not. Like I could tell usually if something is like technically well made,
Yeah.
or if it's if there were mistakes in production, then like sure I can tell that. But like whether or not I liked something, I have a hard time like until I've sat on it for like a day or so, where it's like, oh yeah, I think I like that, or it's like, man, the more I think about that, that kind of sucked.
Mm-hmm. Gotcha. You gotta tell us, when you've made your decision.
Somebody has to tell me how I feel
Ah,
before I can
Me
decide.
and Talon to argue for each side,
there
right?
you go. There you go.
Talon says this book is great.
Mm-hmm.
I say,
I don't know if I'd apply great to that label, but we'll go with it.
damn, Talon, don't back down now.
You said there was nothing you disliked.
That's true. That's true.
Not very strong, like I guess. Just kinda, pretty
Yeah,
good.
yeah.
I mean, you said you were enthralled by. Enthralled might be the wrong word.
Engaged.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
I did like. I guess part of why I probably like Erica is because she is like very much opposed to the rest of the House of Slaughter, and the monsters kind of take a back seat later, where it's like, yes, they are a threat to the normal people, but like to Erica, the what's the term? The antagonism is less about the monsters, and like the conflict is less about the monsters and more like interpersonal, like against the people who have sort of raised her, and how they are very callous with these events. Where it's like, who cares if all these kids die? Just kill the monster.
Mhm.
Use the kids as bait. to find the monster, kill the monster. Who cares if the kids die?
Mhm. Do you think that
Shady organization politics.
mhm. Do you think that transition is like works?
Think so.
Okay.
I mean, it's not like she stops fighting monsters because
Mhm.
she does have to fight monsters, but it's becomes less important, I guess.
Gotcha.
I mean, she seemed pretty fine already, fighting the monster.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it would be weird if she spent all this time fighting monsters but was like still bad at it.
Yeah.
Although, to be fair, yeah, some characters are like that.
Hang of it yet.
Mhm. So we want to move on to the art. Gotcha. What do you guys think of the art?
I really liked the art for the most part. I liked, already talked about, well, I didn't really talk about the design, but the design of Erica, especially, she's the only like different character. Like the rest are pretty generic for whatever their job is.
Mhm. Yeah.
But I liked Erica's design. And the rest of the House of Slaughter was pretty good. The choice of colors, especially, and there's a fair amount of blood in this, and I think it's there is a lot, but I think it's tastefully done, and I like how it fits with the rest of the comic. The only thing I will say I didn't like, and I'm liking it less looking at it digitally, is the amount of big splashes that you have to read from left to right.
Hmm.
Doesn't even. It's not even clear that it's a splash page.
Right.
You go to the
Because
next one,
it's
you're
still
like,
all
wait, oh,
paneled out.
yeah.
So like it's easy to lose kind of track of like how you're supposed to read, and then there's some that are laid out like it might be that, but it isn't.
Hmm.
And like it was a little bit easier to tell reading it physically, but if I was reading this digitally, I don't think I would have had as easy of a time.
Gotcha. So like the art in general was all right. Not really like my what I would my style, but I do appreciate that the artistic choice of making her eyes, Erica's eyes, bigger is like uh, a choice that has like was mentioned in the plot, I guess, or in the dialogue, because the people talking to Erica at one point say, "Oh yeah, like that woman's talking to that kid with that woman with the big eyes," or something like that. And because otherwise, to me, if it was just like an artistic choice, I would have just been like, I don't know. So I don't know why making that a thing in the story makes it better for me, but it just did.
Personally, yeah, I agree with that whole thing. I think, making her eyes bigger, making her a little bit more creepier, and so you can kind of you get the feeling of how the other characters view her.
Mm-hmm.
But man, I don't love the expressions a lot of times. I think there's some really nice, like some of the splash panels can be really nice, like even though I feel that the line art is a little thin sometimes. It's a style. Sometimes though the level of polish on a panel was like so clearly like this looks literally like a draft drawing. And
Hmm.
I wasn't sure why they were doing that or if they just were really like, yeah, this is done. I also didn't, like I was saying, I didn't like the expressions a lot of times. I just found it appalling when they cried, personally. So I was like, it's so bizarre looking to me. I'm trying to think of which panel. It's the panel where it flashes back to Erica, like fighting the different monsters and like saving people. I'm like, I think the coloring helps a lot of it, especially when it's like darker night scenes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I know in the past, like I've had where I was like, oh, I really like, when it's kind of almost unfinished, kind of like strong brush work. But I think that, yeah, that one panel really made me pay more attention sometimes, which isn't a good thing. Where I was like, is this finished?
Mm.
Also, the anatomy sometimes was really off. Like their faces, I think they had trouble sometimes. Sometimes they're kind of skewed. That was a little bit rare though. But of course, I noticed when it happened because it would always be like a moment when they're like having a strong expression of like trying to cry or something. Yeah.
Gotcha.
So yeah, I don't know. Sometimes just so thin the line art.
Yeah, I don't know. I think I like the lines. They talked about it in that interview. It's like the use of sort of like extra scratchy, kind of rough line work was it was a choice that they made as they were going through the story.
Hmm.
Yeah, I just think sometimes they didn't quite get it done right. Because we've read comics where there's been like scratchy line art. Yeah, I think that's about it. Like the colors are really good most of the time. I mean, the cave isn't a super interesting location anyway, so it's hard to criticize it for that.
You say it isn't or isn't?
Isn't.
Okay.
I think that's part of the one of the problems I had where like I mean, I was interested in how she was gonna fight the monster, so the choreography of some of the scenes was kind of confusing because it was kind of the cave wasn't established too well. Like there's dead bodies over here, Tommy appears here, monster here, but Erica from behind James comes. Like, they switch places a few times, but
Hmm.
it's hard because like I said, the cave is kind of a blank slate. It's a dark place. It's just rock walls.
Fair.
I mean, there's only so much you can do to make a cave interesting.
Okay.
Yeah.
It's
So
funny. I watched a movie which is I would say it's similar. It's small town, monster attacking people, but not so much a focus on like a ton of children dying. It's just
Super
constant
8.
like bizarre attacks. Um so I the fact that I didn't like this, but I liked that movie, I'm like, I guess it's just difference in execution.
Hmm. And main characters, I assume.
Yeah, yeah. The main character was really he was horrible and mean, and I loved it because he would pick fights with everybody, and that was the point. He made every single scene very interesting because you were like, who is he gonna like
Hmm.
piss off now?
What movie was it?
The Wolf of Snow Hollow. I
Interesting.
watched it, of course, because I was like, I want a werewolf movie.
Mm.
It is possibly a werewolf movie.
Like left up to interpretation?
Like, it's a small town, so most of the movie, the main character spends going, it's not a werewolf, guys. Stop it. These are actual murders we need to solve for the police.
Hmm.
And everybody's like, this is crazy. Werewolves.
Stop blaming the werewolves. There's a killer on the loose.
Pretty much. And then him partway through being like, is it a werewolf? But yeah,
But what if though?
I think maybe I just don't super love shady organizations in like stories. I think they're given too much. They're allowed to be too omnipotent, which I mean is the point. They're supposed to be intimidating because they're that omnipotent. It just feels like an excuse half the time.
Yeah, I mean, I guess it depends on how much you're liking the rest of the story, how much you're willing to sort of allow. I will say, like, going through this and talking about it more, I think I just have a big soft spot for horror stories in small towns.
Hmm.
Funny because like in the movie I was talking about, they have that thing where they show that it's a small town. It feels like a small town because like the police officer's like talking to like a suspect, and the suspect goes, "So I'll see you at the AA meeting later, right?" And he goes, "Shut up."
Hmm.
like they everybody knows each other. Everybody like half the town is like in his AA meetings, like
Wow.
watching him be a total dummy. So yeah, I think if they had like they started to get a little bit of the small town vibe, but yeah, I don't think it was able to develop too well so far. Obviously, like you were saying, that continues on in this location. This isn't the end of the story. I do find the idea of Erica dealing with politics versus like monsters, like the actual goal. Like, are we here to save people or are we just here to protect a secret? I find that an interesting setup.
Hmm.
But also, I don't feel like that was set up a ton because the organization doesn't get a ton of screen time so far. I mean, we just assumed that they were with Erica for the most part.
Hmm.
Otelon, would you read more?
Yeah, I would read more.
Do you want to know what happens with the babies? Is that part of it?
Yeah, yeah.
Obviously, Jake has read more. Is
Hmm.
there more than what you read?
There is more. When I looked up the James Tynion books to figure out if what else we had read, um, there was something called House of Slaughter.
Ooh.
So maybe that has more explanation about the shadowy organization you would want
Hmm.
That's the thing. Did it come before this or after?
after.
Okay.
Well, actually, no. Are you talking about like when it was published, or like does the story in that book take place before or after this one?
I just mostly meant like if you want to know more about House of Slaughter, read issues three through
Oh,
six of like like a separate series, I guess.
I think I don't know. The what I've actually read is somewhat unclear. I think this is the end of something is killing the children, and then like, but the story continues in um House of Slaughter, but I can't say that for 100%.
It's an interesting choice too, to think that like something is killing the children would probably end with the problems of this town, but obviously monsters still exist. I mean, I just no real interest in reading more of it.
Is it just because it's still Erica as the protagonist?
It was an interesting premise that like I don't feel like they're obviously not going to like go through it. It's not a mystery anymore.
Oh yeah, I
It's
guess
a
yeah, they're
monster.
not
It's a monster.
they're not expanding on the premise that you thought that it was going to deliver on.
And now we have to deal with the bureaucracy of killing monsters,
Hmm.
which can be interesting in its own right. But yeah, I think for what it set up and what I was interested in, it wasn't that. So I'm not really interested in reading more. But
Yeah, I
also,
mean
yeah, I just don't care about Erica.
that's fair because there's definitely been stories I've read like that where it's like I thought the story was one thing and then I read it and it's not that, and I was way more interested if it was that other thing.
Yeah, that's
Sometimes it
where
almost like
that's where I was kind of like, if it shifted from instead of her hunting monsters to then her dealing with more of the House of Slaughter. That's where I was like, uh, because it shifted focus, and so.
I'm sure for people who are reading House of Slaughter itself, that's probably what interests them eventually.
Mm.
I will say that does make sense for you, Tail because the early parts of this feels like an episode of Supernatural
Mm.
where
Mm.
they just roll into town, find a monster, have to discover what the monster is and fight it. And it does get away from that a little bit later.
Bummer.
So that tracks.
Mm-hmm. So at some point, Shawinta said something, and I thought of I don't know if you would call it a tagline, but basically it's something that one of the characters from Supernatural says. It's like, saving people, hunting things, the family business. Oh yeah, that's what it was. Saving people. That's what she said.
Glad to bring it back to the CW.
I'm pretty sure if we ever record, like, anytime we get together and talk for long enough, we'll talk about Supernatural.
Mm-hmm.
This was easy, though.
Yeah.
Or Smallville.
Or Smallville.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I like this. I liked the book overall.
Yeah.
Even though I did choose it. So I am predisposed to like it anyway.
Mm.
Well, I just assumed because you had hardcover, but I forgot you're one of those people who gets hardcovers and then finds out. Such a
Oh yeah, no, this is very much a impulse buy at the comic shop. They just had like a display
Oh, nice.
next to the cash register. And I saw it and I was like, oh, I like James Tynion, and I've heard good things, like vaguely about something is killing the children, so I'll pick it up.
I didn't like the Department of Truth either, I think. So yeah. Just not for those organizations, I guess.
Mm. So you want corporations?
I don't think that's what.
All right. Is that all we had for?
I think so. It feels like it.
All right. This has been the Comic Panel. I've been Taylon.
I'm Jacob.
I'm Shawinta.
And you all have a great rest of your day. Thank you for listening. If you like this episode, be sure to subscribe to our podcast on Apple Music, Spotify, or Podbean. You can support this podcast by sharing it with anyone you know and by rating and reviewing our podcast. You can also reach out to us with any thoughts you have on the things we talk about on Twitter at TheComicPanel1 and on Instagram and Facebook at The Comic Panel. We appreciate your feedback and look forward to sharing many more comic thoughts with you. Have a blessed day.